Thank you, Mr. Bishop. Chair now recognizes himself for the second round. Congress recently passed the Bipartisan Take It Down Act, which I was proud to support, requiring online platforms to remove non-consensual intimate images within 48 hours of a victim's request. The legislation tasks the FTC with ensuring the platforms comply with the law. What additional resources will be required by the Commission to enforce the Take It Down Act?
We are really excited by the Take It Down Act. This was one of President Trump's priorities. We think it's going to do a lot of good for vulnerable Americans. This is a new front of enforcement authority for the FTC. It involves dealing with some oftentimes really horrible material in order to conduct the investigation. So I think we basically need three things. The first is I'm going to need sort of a segregated technology system to house this material when we're conducting investigations. We're not going to want that intermingled with the sort of other bread and butter data that the commission brings on to conduct investigations. And second, I'm going to need to hire some specialist investigators that deal with this stuff. Dealing with this stuff takes a real psychological toll on investigators, but there are investigators and lawyers that have training dealing with this stuff as prosecutors or as civil investigators in other context, and we would want to bring some of those folks on to maximize our enforcement efforts. So those are the sort of the two buckets, three specialist investigators and specialist lawyers to help enforce these things. Those are the three buckets: segregated IT, specialist investigators, specialist lawyers. And I'd love to work with you on making sure that we will have the resources to carry out this super important priority.
As a recovering prosecutor, I understand how important it is to also maintain that as evidence.
Yes, exactly.
In those cases.
That's right.
Certainly, one of the most shocking things you saw was in, say, the middle school, junior high school setting or high school, where images get shot around and kids send them to each other, and next thing you know, you have 800 counts on 800 separate people for that type of juvenile pornography. So I think it's very important that they have the ability, you have the ability to make sure that stops immediately.
I totally agree. And because some of this material will potentially be CSAM, it is really important that it is segregated from everything else that we do and that we have specialists that know how to deal with it.
Advances in artificial intelligence have increased the ability of scammers to, unfortunately, to deceive and defraud customers. How have you seen the fraudulent schemes become more sophisticated, and what are you doing to protect consumers from them?
Yeah, so I think AI can be used particularly for certain types of schemes to sort of supercharge the fraud. AI makes it easier to impersonate someone else. It's actually, frankly, quite terrifying. I don't know if anyone on this committee has ever gotten a call of like an impersonated loved one, but I have friends that have gotten calls from like impersonated family members. It's like a truly terrifying experience. So we have the impersonation rule that we are bringing enforcement actions on to recover civil penalties for violations of this. We had a competition that we ran last year to encourage people to develop voice cloning technology that will allow law enforcers to detect when AI is being used to perform impersonations. This is going to require sort of a whole of government approach because we have to both stop it before it gets to the consumer through their phone, but we also, we have to work because a lot of this is criminal activity. You need prosecutors to assist. A lot of this comes from outside of the United States. These are people who are not going to be super responsive to sort of the civil law enforcement component of the FTC since they're already taking tremendous criminal risks outside the United States to do this. But this is one of our top priorities, particularly given that this is often aimed at some of our most vulnerable populations.
Like there are not enough schemes targeted at these elderly.
That's exactly right.
One of the things that I'm interested in as well is I know that it was used in the form of manipulating President Biden's voice to tell voters in a state not to come in the next day for the primary. In my time in Homeland, I attended a lot of cybersecurity ones, and they said that was the start. In 28, you could produce the whole candidate, and somebody would never have to leave their house, yet there would be images of them all around. So what I also have a concern with is competition and consolidation in this industry, so you don't end up with just one sole source of this stuff. You have any thoughts on how you're going to prevent that from happening?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the United States is the AI leader right now, and part of that is because we have a competitive, dynamic economy, and competition breeds innovation, and innovation is what gives us AI, and it's what gives us our advantage over China, for example, because we are competitive and competition breeds innovation. It is very important that the FTC be particularly vigilant to make sure competition problems don't seep into AI. At the same time, the other advantage that the United States has is that we don't reflexively regulate new technologies. We let them develop, we encourage innovation, we encourage experimentation, and we see how things go, and then we address problems as they arise. I think that is equally important. Protecting competition in this space is important. Equally important is making sure that government regulators don't intervene too early, particularly with a technology that is transforming constantly, faster than even its engineers can predict. We don't want regulators coming in heavy-handed. By the time they even figure out what's going on, it will have changed. I think it's very important that that American entrepreneurial spirit be protected, both from anti-competitive consolidation and from government overregulation.
Thank you.